With the mission to keep as many men on as many guns for as long as possible, we called him Doc. Welcome to Combat Vet Vision. And now your host, Aaron Chief Seabird.
The only way, like the sunbathing goodbyes. Hey, welcome to Combat Vet Vision. Hey, this is a place where I really get to talk about uh, my my life as a combat vet for the most part, and how that transition went, and the different phases um, of coming back from combat and developing a life that I have to kind of live and think about and pursue in a positive manner. And it gives me an opportunity to kind of talk about the things that I might be dealing with, or as well as other combat vets that'll get on here and talk about what they've had to deal with, their transition, and what they're doing now in life and society. And it also gives our sponsor supporters and volunteers a platform to kind of talk about why they're sponsoring us, helping us out, doing a lot of things. And I mean that because most of the time I spend talking about the PTSD Foundation of America, which is peer-to-peer mentor support, as well as an IOP program that's in effect. It's a 6 to 9 month program at Camp Hope. If those that really can use and need it, they can go there to Houston, Texas, and get that. Other than that, it's an outreach program that allows for veterans to kind of have a place and a sounding board to kind of talk about these issues that they're dealing with, and maybe not need Camp Hope, or maybe develop some other tactics on how to deal with their own lives, different things like that. So, and I'm going to talk about a lot of things related to that today, as well as I do a lot with Warrior Built Foundation, which is vocational recreational support. Quick shout out to them. This weekend they just had the race Vegas to Reno, and Warrior Built did awesome. They went there with their motorcycle team that they always have, and new guys that participate in that, or different guys that get on it. But it's a team that we've had for from the beginning. And then a side by side team. We were presented the opportunity to race a side by side, and the guys got out there and they raced it, and they completed the mission, as well as the motorcycle team. They completed it and knocked it out with flying colors. So it's really good to see when that saturation of team comes together and does a field op and goes out and completes a mission. And then I think the bigger mission was watching them drive back in some of the videos that I was watching as Warrior Built was driving back from Reno area and traveling through the storm that's basically been sweeping across the Southern California area. So kudos to those guys and everything that went with that team. That's a huge, awesome effort that's put together. And we just had the opportunity to race the side by side that does a lot of things. And we have a lot of sponsors that are involved with that allow us to really participate and do something good in our lives. So one of the biggest things I want to talk about today is things that are really important to me, and that being, how do we get to a place of want, or a place of need, uh, to a place of want. So, from need. So when I think about that, I think about that often. I talk about it a lot. Warrior Built's a place that you might show up as a combat vet. At first, it might be a place that you need. You need that saturation. You need that camaraderie. You may think you need some help. And I think it's really hard for us to ask for help. So I don't always use that term too much, but I definitely say we need that camaraderie, because that seems to be the number one thing that most vets say that they miss the most. And you get that at Warrior Built for sure. You get that saturation. You get that saturation in an event, in a goal, in a achievement, to finish a race, to being involved in a race, to being involved in a team, whether that's the softball team that they have, to music night, jamming out and just kind of completing the night, and just getting a little bit of time on the whatever it is, instrument that you're wanting to play, or on the mic, to just kind of verbally shout it out and do some stuff. So I want to say that there's a lot of really cool things that are involved in that. And with the PTSD Foundation, you really need that. If you're coming for the groups, if you're coming for that, sometimes it's to a point where you really need that. However, it also becomes a place of want, because maybe you get so, in tune with yourself that, yeah, you want to go share a little bit, but you want to also reinforce and help those that are sharing in their stories and their development in life, or whatever they're doing in struggles. And I think we all end up in a struggle point, uh, based off of trauma that we've had in the past, whether that's childhood trauma to the military trauma. But obviously, combat vets helping combat vets in this scenario, but it also traces back. There's prior trauma to a lot of those things, but that trauma translates into, hey, what are we doing right now in our lives to alter some of maybe the things or the habits or the inability to kind of connect. What are we doing to make that a better option? So you start coming to these events, you start involving yourself, you start being a little bit more in tune with yourself, or you start concentrating on what are you going to change, how are you going to make yourself a little bit more caring, a little bit more sharing, a little bit more connecting, a little bit more this and that. And we don't always know. And that, I want to say that that's probably something different for each individual in each thing that we do. um, and in every aspect of life, sometimes those things look like that. So I want to also focus on, there's a couple other things I want to focus on, like the guys and gals that come to a warrior group. They often feel, and I want to say, even in the mission of Warrior Built and all the different things, whatever we're doing in our lives that we decide we're going to be accountable to, we sometimes feel guilty if we're not there constantly, or we're not involved in that constantly, or we're not pursuing our lives in a positive direction constantly. There's a lot of apologies that are made, and I don't want anybody to feel like that, really. Because ultimately, um, when you're going through life, a lot of things, a lot of obstacles come up in life, a lot of family involvement, a lot of different things that require your time and effort kind of take some priorities. And sometimes we don't always put enough emphasis on that priority to be like, hey, this is such a priority that I can't make it this week to group, or I can't make it this time to this event. However, there, some things require a lot of commitment. So if you're committed, and some guys have been committed to starting the softball team at Warrior Built, or being in charge of the race team for the side by side, or the Class 11 Bug. We have a Class 11 Bug that's getting redone, getting reset up, and about to go to Crandon, do some stuff out there in a big cool race. Um, but that's a lot of borrowed parts for that, because we've been retrofitting, waiting for our bug to be complete. So we're in the process of borrowing a bug and making sure that that is kind of a cool thing. Um, but there's a lot of involvement. There's a lot of commitment. There's a lot of, hey, can you help prep this thing? Can you help do this? And if you say yes, yeah, you feel obligated to that. However, when it comes to the group, and you're going day in and day out, your weekly, monthly, whatever it is that makes that an important factor in your life, you may get to a point where you don't need it anymore, because you've gone so much. You've came out of a depression. You've came out of a situation that was really bad. You've reconnected with a lot of things in your life, and now it's just kind of like, hey, I just want to go for the camaraderie. I just want to sit there. I want to listen to the guys. I want to maybe rethink or re-articulate how I'm going to communicate and talk to those around me, how I'm going to listen to someone and listen to their story and get something out of it, and say, hey, you know what, I can relate to it. I can I can totally see myself dealing with that situation, but I'm glad I don't have to. Or, hey, I'm glad that you shared that, because it gave me a piece of puzzle that I really didn't know how to kind of mill it out in my mind and heart and soul, and now I do. So it becomes like, man, cool. I'm gaining another tool to better cope with tomorrow. I'm able to cope with the neighbor that says, hey, you're making too much noise, or and you're not, but hey, it's just the way things are. And so you need to be able to better cope with that. So how does that work? You let it come in, you kind of throw it out, and then you're like, hey, I'm going to be really cool about it until you can't be cool anymore. But for the most part, you don't. And there's a lot of things we don't say in our minds that actually occur in the process of trying to be a calm, cool, collected individual. There's a lot of things that skip into our minds that create like chaos and damage and messed up situations. And you could just go down the list, and the knife hand and the evil eye and the whole situation, the thunder and the lightning and the shock and awe, the escalation of force, things that, you just don't hear in society very much. But in our minds, we are processing these things. And we're like, no, shock and awe is not one of the options. Knife hand can't really be one of the options. Mr. Nice Guy has to come out, because there is no place in society for us as combat vets. In our combat mindsets, in our tactical mindsets. However, all the time we use our tactical mindsets to, figure out the best course of action to get to the store with the least amount of effort and time and traffic, and people will be there. Saturdays and Sundays is not something that we want to spend our time hitting the malls, the stores, the things with, because sometimes that affects us in the overpressurized, stimulated environment. Just, puts too much on the mind, and we're not really there to be a tactical asset to the mission of an enemy. However, we create that enemy automatically, and it just becomes kind of a never-ending involvement in our minds. So those things are really, really kind of stressful, and they cause a lot of problems. So, but developing those tools in these groups, or in the saturation of combat vets doing missions together, racing together, doing softball together, doing whatever it is that you're comfortable with, and talking with, and kind of throwing some stuff around so that you can better develop your mindset on how you're going to treat people in society, how you're going to treat yourself, your family, and anything else that comes your way. And I want to say these things become wants way more often if we're engaged in ourselves, if we're engaged in others, if we're engaged in all these different things. They become wants, and the need of it all becomes, hey, I'm sorry I didn't make it this week. Well, you didn't need to come here this week. You didn't need it, And even if you did, it's good to know that it's there next week, or it's any week, or a battle buddy that you talk to, you've developed a relationship with, or you've contacted in the group becomes that asset for you. And that's maybe what you need. Maybe you just need a battle buddy. Maybe you don't need the group. Maybe you don't need the saturation. Maybe you don't need warrior build. Maybe you don't need all these different things. Maybe you just need softball. Maybe that's it. You've never stepped foot into warrior build, but you play softball for warrior build, and that happens. And maybe you just need to know that Camp Hope exists, and that it's a great backbone to helping vets. And now you really want to get the 30-hour certificated course, and you want to go out and just kind of like, hey, I want to be able to help vets based off the theories and principles of the PTSD Foundation of America, and kind of run groups. And because I've participated in some groups, I understand the concept, and then I'm gonna go carry those groups out with others, and under the PTSD Foundation's guidance. However, it's not something you need. It's something that you want, because you want to be able to affect and help another veteran. And that's the important place to be. It's a really cool place to be. It's kind of something that I talk about a lot. It's something that I focus on a lot, and I really focus on that positive movement in a direction that's going to be good for you. And it may not always look good for others necessarily, but if it's the place that you really feel you need to go to be good and balanced and set up in a way that's going to be it's going to give you a life that's of value, and something that you have some passion with, then that's where the direction we need to go. And you want to get there. You don't want to need it. I wrote it. You can check the show notes. There's a lot of needs there: food, water, clothing. I mean, we all need that. but are you able to live your life in just having enough water to survive, having enough food to survive, having enough clothing and shelter to survive? You need to get to a place where you want to survive in that environment. That environment becomes your sanctuary. It becomes something pleasant, and you're connecting in it, and you're finding passion in it, and you're driving yourself into a new direction that's always unfolding in positive ways, because the chaos can unfold too. You can unfold chaos in all kinds of directions, and that's, you're going to get your adrenaline rush through that. You're going to get a lot of things. It's really easy to get fired up about a lot of really cool and unfortunate events, but that's really not, hopefully, that you're living your life. Hopefully you get to live your life on somewhat of your own terms, and a whole lot of supportive conduct within your own self, and with the help of others. Because I believe that if we stay in our own mind for such a long time, or whatever that might look like, it may not allow you to grow as fast, or in directions that you think you would be able to, if you get the input of others. And that's why going to some of these groups are great. And a lot of misconceptions about the group. You may think you don't need the group because they're going to talk about things that they're going to try to one up you. They're going to try to one up everything. They're going to try to conduct these things, and that's something that I'm really frowning. I frown upon. In it's, the group is really there designed for you to tell your story, whatever story that might be, and however you want to tell it. Maybe you don't want to tell the whole story. Maybe you want to just tell a piece of it, or maybe you just want to talk about, hey. And it's not about focusing on the past of that story so much as it is, how are you dealing in life right now? Because that's where we're at. We're in life right now. And so we want to do the best we can in life right now and for our future. What does that look like? Well, hopefully it doesn't look as chaotic as our past, if that's our past. If our past is that hurtful, that destructive, that chaotic, hopefully we're finding new avenues to trust and focus and mindfully make positive directions. So it's just some of the things I just wanted to talk about today, and I just wanted to say, it's not about how I'm saying it necessarily, because everybody has those things, right? When you think about your needs, and just need, maybe you need therapy. You think you need therapy, or someone thinks you need therapy, or you don't think you need therapy. But why not check it out, give it a shot, and then and then you know, and then figure out if that's somewhere you want to go. And maybe you're just a mom with kids and you need some coffee, and that's good too. Um, sometimes you have very small needs, but the bottom line is everybody has their own way of getting there. But are we necessarily focusing on getting to a place where this becomes a quality of life? This becomes a want. This becomes, you wake up every day, I need to work because I need to make money. But are you finding enjoyment in your work, in your endeavors to create that final want? So I'm curious, feel free to hit me up anytime. Let me know your thoughts on any of this stuff, because I put my thoughts out there all the time, but definitely I don't believe that my thoughts are the only way. And I'm really I'm really open to listen to other people's mindsets, what they're doing, because there's some incredible things going on in a lot of different directions. Not all the time do you know where to grab that focus and run with it. And if you are one of these guys, one of these gals that really want to help combat vets or help veterans out or do something, and you have questions or anything of that nature, please hit me up. This is something I do. It's a lifestyle. Um, it's not just a way of it's not a moneymaker for me, for sure. Uh, and the other thing I wanted to say I was focusing on something interesting. I was focused on Star Trek. If you watch Star Trek, their whole life, 24/7, is on that starship, and their whole lives involve. They've given up a good portion of their life to do this, and in the Navy, I think that happens as well. However, my Navy was a lot of the Marine Corps, so I had a lot of options. I only was on, a few Navy ships, probably a year and 3 month, 6 month total time on ships. But when you give up your life for that, there's a there's a lot of stuff. Yeah, so yeah, Star Trek. Star Trek reminds me of my time in the Navy, kinda. However, my Navy was the Marine Corps, so more so was spent in the desert somewhere. Uh, Training in 29 Palms to getting off the ship in some country and just flying some helicopters out to drop us off for a couple of days, weeks, whatever it might be. Uh, but or obviously going to combat in Iraq 3 separate times. That was my desert. That's where it just kind of played, did all these things. But when you think about all these different aspects of that, their lives are fluid, and they've had to kind of evolve their life around their work. And you never really get to see them taking that much time off or doing something, but you always know, if you watch Star Trek, they're always working, they're always doing that, but they manage to also enjoy their lives in that work. And I want to say that's kind of what I still do now. I just work all the time for the most part, but I also get to enjoy my life in between. So my phone rings, I answer it. I get on the social network. I'm constantly on there, just kind of trying to see if anybody needs anything or throw some information out there, do something. And I'm doing this podcast all the time, every Monday, just getting a soundboard or something that's really cool. And Brian Colburn making that happen. Hey, before I sign off, let's just, if Brian, you're there for the PSA. I know we got to put that out there if that's a chance. Let's go ahead and put that out there.
This message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Do you want easy access to VA Online, as well as other government websites? Then login.gov is the way to go. Login.gov is the U.S. government service that provides seamless access to government websites. By creating a login.gov account, you can use the same email and password to sign into VA.gov, My Healthy Vet, VA DoD e-benefits, and the VA Health and Benefits mobile app, among other VA services. Login.gov also allows you to securely sign in to USA Jobs and TSA PreCheck, and to apply for SBA small business loans and disaster assistance. One login, many resources. To create a login.gov account, simply go to va.gov and click sign in.
Hey, that's the VA PSA that comes out, and that's just another cool aspect, because as I listen to the PSAs that come on here, they kind of give you some information that you might want to focus on. And I want to say the VA has seems to be getting better. I'm not sure, if that's the case for everybody, but I want to say, my doctor, I just went to my VA appointment, got some help and support, and got my labs knocked out, my yearly assessment, and this and that. And I'm not a real big medicine guy or a VA guy, but that's definitely something that we have to do, and I want to make sure that we do it. But I will say that I did get a really cool tip, because the VA app is an important app. Just because it's got your rating, it's got your information, it's got your it's a brand new app. I think it's only been out for a short period of time, but luckily I have battle buddies that showed me this thing, and it gave me some perspective, as far as I didn't realize that we as veterans, retired, cannot use the exchange in some countries, in foreign countries. I had an experience in Germany where I went to use my ID, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you can't." Well, she didn't look at it very close, but I think my ID is good to go. However, if you're not 100%, if you're not, you may not be able to use the exchange on some IDs, because they either don't want you to buy up the whole store and take it and sell it somewhere, whatever it is. They don't want to make sure that you have to have a SOFA agreement stamp on your ID, and so that's something I got to look into. I'll look into that later and get you some other information on that. But I was really kind of taken back. 20 years of service, and I was like, what? I can't buy something in the exchange here? This is crazy. I just need to buy a jacket to take this Mac flight. But yeah, it got a little weird. So I just wanted to put that out there. But that VA app, if you check it out and utilize it, it shows that you're 100%. That's another thing. If you're 100% disabled, you can do it. But you have to be able to prove that, or Purple Heart, you got to be able to prove that. So, and I will say it's really great. It has your breakdown of percentages. It's a lot easier than logging on to something. That's all I'm going to say. Hey, but I'm gonna let you guys go. I appreciate the time, and everybody out there. I hope you are doing something to benefit yourself, something to get you away from a need to a want, and whatever that looks like, that is for you. But also, feel free to hit me up anytime. Hey, but this is Aaron Siebert, retired Navy Chief, lucky to be alive after being hit with a mortar round in April 2006. Signing off. Strength and honor. Out.